There was a young man named Daniel. Nobody talked about him, nobody posted about him, nobody waited to hear what he had to say. Every morning he walked through the same streets, past the same people, and disappeared into the crowd like a shadow. People noticed loud people. People noticed rich people. People noticed successful people. But Daniel? Nobody noticed Daniel. Yet every night, while the city slept, he was building something, alone, quietly, without applause, without support, without anyone believing in him. And what nobody knew was this: one day, the same people who ignored him would stop and ask, how did he do it? But by then, Daniel wouldn't need to explain. His results would speak for him. Daniel grew up in a small neighborhood where dreams often died before they had a chance to grow. Most people around him believed life was simple. Go to school, get a job, survive, repeat. Dreaming bigger than that was dangerous because if you failed, people laughed. And Daniel knew that feeling very well. When he was younger, he used to tell people his dreams. He talked about building a business. He talked about creating something meaningful. He talked about changing his family's life. People smiled, but not because they believed him. They smiled because they thought it was funny. Some even laughed openly. Daniel, successful? That's impossible. Those words stayed inside him like tiny cuts. Not deep enough to kill him, but painful enough to remember. Years passed. Life became harder. Bills came. Responsibilities came. Problems came. And slowly, Daniel started questioning himself. Maybe they were right. Maybe he wasn't special. Maybe his dreams were too big. Maybe success belonged to other people. People with connections, people with money, people with luck. Not people like him. Not people like Daniel. But every time he wanted to quit, something inside him refused. A small voice kept whispering, "Keep going," even when nobody else believed. One evening, Daniel sat alone in his room. The lights were off, the room was quiet. He looked at his phone, he looked at social media. He saw people showing expensive cars, luxury vacations, big houses, success everywhere. At least that was what it looked like. For a moment, he felt defeated. He compared his life to theirs, and he hated what he saw. Then something happened. He asked himself a question. What if I stop talking about what I want to do and simply do it? The question changed everything. That night, Daniel made a decision nobody knew about. He would stop announcing his goals, stop seeking validation, stop trying to impress people, stop explaining himself. From now on, he would move carefully, quietly, patiently, and let results speak for him. The next morning looked exactly like every other morning. The sun rose, people rushed to work, cars filled the roads. Nothing had changed, except Daniel. He began waking up earlier while others slept. He worked. While others complained, he learned. While others wasted time arguing online, he improved himself every single day. Some days he felt strong, some days he felt weak. Some days he felt unstoppable. Some days he wanted to quit, but he kept moving. Not fast, not perfectly, just consistently. One step, then another, then another. Weeks became months, months became years. Still, nobody noticed. And that was the hardest part. People think hard work is painful. It is. But do you know what hurts even more? Working hard and seeing no results, giving everything you have, and still looking stuck. That was Daniel's reality. There were nights he cried quietly, nights he questioned everything, nights he wondered if all his effort meant nothing. But every morning, he got up again, because deep down he understood something. Seeds grow underground before anyone sees them. One afternoon, an old friend met Daniel. The friend looked successful, nice clothes, nice watch, confident smile. He looked Daniel up and down, then asked, "So, what are you doing with your life now?" Daniel smiled. "Working." The friend laughed. "Still?" Daniel nodded. The friend shook his head. "You've been working for years. Where are the results?" The words hit hard, very hard, because Daniel had asked himself the same question many times. For a second, he wanted to defend himself. Explain everything. Tell him about the sacrifices. Tell him about the sleepless nights. Tell him about the plans. But he didn't. Instead, he simply smiled. Then he walked away. Because some battles are not won with words, they're won with proof. 1 year later, disaster struck. Something Daniel had spent years building failed completely. The project collapsed. Money disappeared. Time disappeared. Hope disappeared. Everything felt ruined. He sat alone staring at the floor. His heart was heavy. His mind was exhausted. For the first time in years, he seriously considered giving up. Maybe this was the sign. Maybe this was where the story ended. Maybe all the people who doubted him were right. Maybe he was chasing something impossible. The room felt smaller. The silence felt louder. And then he remembered something his father once told him. When life knocks you down, stay down only long enough to learn why you fell. Daniel closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and stood up. Not because he felt strong, but because he refused to stay broken. Most people think successful people never fail. That's not true. Successful people fail. The difference is they start again. Daniel started again. This time, he was smarter, more patient, more careful. He made fewer announcements, shared fewer plans, spoke less, observed more. He focused on learning, improving, growing, day after day, month after month, year after year, and slowly, very slowly, something began to change. Small wins appeared, then bigger wins, then opportunities, then momentum. Nothing happened overnight, but everything was happening. One morning, Daniel received a message. It was an opportunity he had dreamed about for years. He stared at the screen, read it again, then again. It was real. For a moment, he couldn't believe it. The years of struggle, the years of silence, the years of sacrifice, they were finally beginning to mean something. Soon more opportunities came, then more. Doors that had always been closed suddenly opened. People who ignored him started paying attention. People who doubted him started asking questions. People who laughed started becoming curious. The funny thing was, Daniel hadn't changed his message. The only thing that changed was his results. Because people often ignore potential, but they notice proof. One day, Daniel walked through the same streets he had walked for years, the same buildings, the same roads, the same neighborhood. But something felt different. People greeted him. People smiled. People respected him. Some even asked for advice. Advice. The same people who once laughed now wanted guidance. Life can be strange. The world often waits until you succeed before believing you can succeed, and Daniel understood that. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. Because he knew something important. People respond to what they see, and now they could finally see. Many people thought Daniel's success happened suddenly. They saw the victory, but not the struggle. They saw the results, but not the sacrifices. They saw the finish line, but not the thousands of steps before it. They didn't see the lonely nights, the failures, the disappointments, the tears, the fear, the doubt, the moments he almost quit, the moments nobody clapped, the moments nobody cared. But Daniel remembered all of it, every single part, because success is not built in public, it's built in private. Long before anyone notices, years later, a young boy approached Daniel. The boy looked nervous. "How did you become successful?" Daniel smiled. The question sounded familiar. He thought carefully before answering. Then he said, "I stopped trying to convince people. I stopped trying to prove myself. I stopped talking so much." The boy listened closely. Daniel continued, "I learned to move carefully. I learned to be patient. I learned that real growth happens quietly. And most importantly, I learned to let my results speak for me." The boy nodded, but Daniel wasn't finished. Remember this: the loudest person in the room is not always the strongest. The person showing off is not always winning. The person nobody notices today may become the person nobody can ignore tomorrow. Many years passed. Daniel sat alone one evening watching the sunset. The sky glowed orange and gold. The world felt peaceful. He thought about his journey, the boy who was ignored, the young man who was doubted, the dreamer who almost quit, the fighter who kept going. He smiled. Not because life was perfect, not because every problem disappeared, but because he never gave up on himself. And in that moment, he realized something beautiful. The greatest victory was never the money, never the recognition, never the success. The greatest victory was becoming the person who refused to quit, because long before the world believed in him, he chose to believe in himself, and that changed everything. So if you're watching this right now, maybe people don't see your effort, maybe nobody notices your sacrifice, maybe your progress feels invisible. Keep going. The tree grows long before it gives fruit. The sun rises before the world wakes up, and success often arrives quietly. Move carefully, stay focused, keep working, keep believing. One day, you won't have to explain yourself. You won't have to convince anyone. You won't have to argue with doubters, because your results will speak for you. The loudest proof of success is not your words, it's your life. And when that day comes, let the results do the talking. Remember, the world may not see your effort today, but that doesn't mean it isn't working. If this story inspired you, subscribe for more powerful stories like this. And before you go, like and leave a comment below. What's one goal you're working on quietly right now? Until next time, keep moving forward and let your results speak for you.